Today, we're going to dig into a really fundamental shift in the world of education. We're talking about a move away from just, teaching stuff to focusing on what students can actually do with what they've learned. This is all about the shift to learning outcomes, and trust me, it completely changes the game.
So let me start by asking you a question. Is memorizing something the same as actually truly learning it? I mean, think about it. Remember cramming for a test in school, maybe memorizing the entire periodic table? How much of that can you honestly recall right now? That very gap is at the heart of the whole change we're talking about today.
And that question leads us straight to our first big idea, the massive difference between the act of learning and the state of truly acquiring knowledge. You can think of it like this. Learning is kind of like getting a box of Legos and instructions. But acquisition? That's when you've built the model, you understand how it works, and you can even start building your own creations with the pieces. They're two totally different. Now, take a look at this. This slide really breaks down the whole process. You've got the teacher's role, and then you have the child's learning. But the end goal isn't just the learning part. It's to reach this state called adigam in Hindi. This means permanent learning or acquisition. And here's the key part. It's when that knowledge becomes so ingrained that a child can take it and apply it to totally new and different situations. That's when you know real learning has happened. That's the real win. So you have to wonder, right? What was the big push that made the entire education system start focusing on this deeper kind of learning? What sparked this whole thing? Well, it all kicked off with one very important and very powerful question.
The year was 2017, and this turned out to be a huge turning point for education in India. Something happened that really forced everyone to take a step back and completely rethink how we measure what kids are learning in school. So, back in 2017, India's main educational body, the NCERT, had this major realization. They figured out that while a whole lot of teaching was going on in classrooms, there wasn't a clear way to know what the actual result was. What were kids walking away with? So in response, they decided a new system was needed, one that could define and measure the real, concrete outcomes of education, starting right from the first grade. And this realization is what directly led to the creation and rollout of what we now call learning outcomes. This became the answer, a whole new framework designed to tackle those big questions of why we're teaching something and what for. So what in the world are they? Well, simply put, a learning outcome is a standard. It's a super clear statement about what a student should know or be able to do after a lesson or a course is over. And these are spelled out for every single class and every single subject, creating a really clear roadmap of what success actually looks like. So why was this shift so desperately needed? Well, it was about making good on the national promise of a real, meaningful education for every single child. It was about building a system that valued actual skills, not just memorizing facts. And maybe most importantly, it created a way to finally check if our big national education goals were actually being met. And the goals of this system are incredibly down to earth. It's not just about getting kids in school, it's about quality. By setting these clear benchmarks, everybody wins. It helps teachers improve their methods, it connects what's learned in the classroom to the real world, and it even helps parents get more involved because now they know exactly what their kids are supposed to be learning. Okay, now we're getting to what I think is the most powerful idea behind this whole thing. It's the philosophical shift, a complete change in perspective at the very core of the learning outcomes framework. It's all about moving the spotlight from the teacher to the child. And here's the difference in a nutshell. Traditional learning objectives are all about the teacher. They'd say something like, the teacher will explain photosynthesis. It's about the teacher's actions. But learning outcomes, they flip the script. They're all about the child. A learning outcome would say, the student can explain the process of photosynthesis in their own words. You see that? The focus completely shifts from the teaching activity to what the student can actually demonstrate. This image just drives that point home perfectly. On one side, you have the old way, learning goals set by the teacher. On the other, the new way, learning outcomes demonstrated by the child. It totally reframes the whole point of education. The measure of success is no longer, hey, did the teacher cover all the chapters? Instead, it's, did the child truly get it, and can they actually use that knowledge? And all of this leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. What is the true purpose of education? Is it just about getting through a syllabus, checking off boxes, or is it about the development of the child? The shift to learning outcomes makes a pretty strong case for the second one, framing education not as some race to finish a textbook, but as a journey to empower students for the rest of their lives. That's a powerful idea to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.